Hello everyone, welcome to Crystal Point. My name is Lyndon and today I'm going to bring you the very first deck list on this channel. And basically it's my own personal deck that I have been using for the last 2 months now. I mean I've been refining it quite a lot since, and here it is in front. There it is, all these lovely juicy cards. This deck is very much like myself. It's a very control-y type of deck. It requires you to kill a lot of guys. You use a lot of summons to either kill them or freeze and dull them and then kill them. This deck itself has been actually very successful. It's been very strange. I didn't expect it as doing well at all. But in the 2 tournaments that I've been going to at my local store, out of 9 or 10 matches, it's only ever lost once. And it's not a super break your bank balance kind of deck either. It's not got so many legends in it that it just breaks your bank account. So anyway guys, this is my Lightning Ice control deck that I personally have been using for the last couple of weeks at least. And I've really enjoyed playing it, and I really want to keep playing it. So hopefully you guys enjoy this deck as well as I do if you decide to play it. And we'll just get on with the video. So this deck contains 21 forwards, 18 backups and 11 summons, so let's get right to it. So the first forward in this is 1 Cait Sith, and it's very simple. 1 lightning CP, comes in, you get to duel one of their forwards, and it's 2000 power. Not amazing, and you know, it's not going to make much headway in battle, but the idea is you're just going to be using this simply for the EX burst if you happen to get it during the damage zone, or you get to play it just to giving them last couple of points of damage if there's a complete stalemate. So there isn't really much more to talk about this card, other than you pretty much just going to use it pretty much when you're going to win, or if it's going to save you out of complete randomness. Right, now we have one of the better cards in the deck, and it will cost you a few pounds, or dollars if you're watching in America, or anywhere else in the world, I don't know. This is Hero Snow, and 1 cost 3000. Whenever he declares an attack, you get to tap something. Similar to Cait Sith, not bad at all. So he's already pretty much on the same par as Cait Sith. But also, if you've cast Shiva before you declare the attack, you get to freeze him also. So, so if you play the 3 cost Shiva, for example, you get to dull and freeze 1 forward, and then you attack with Snow, and you get to dull and freeze another forward, which is insane for a 1 cost. I know plenty of games this has completely ruined people. They look at Snow and you just go, yeah, that's Snow. You're gonna have to kill that, I'm afraid. So it has won me so many games. Right, now we're on to the 2 cost forwards, and there's only one 2 cost forward in this deck, and it's Sid Reigns. Now, a lot of you will be scratching your heads at this. You're thinking, this fool, what is he doing? It's a starter card, it's not that good. I would actually disagree. I do think it's an underrated card. Sure, he's a 2 cost 5000, and when he comes into play, you get to deal 4000 to a dual forward that they control. Alright, not bad. But then there's a secondary effect where if that forward that you selected dies, or breaks, if I use the proper terminology, during that turn, they discard a card. Now, if they've got a very weak forward, you get to play. So if they've attacked you turn 1 or turn 2, say with a Haste Tifa. Great example. They've attacked you, you've lost the damage before you can even do anything. Your first turn, you play Sid Reigns, you kill their Tifa, and they discard a card, and you've got a 5k body on the field. Great. Now, bearing in mind with Minwu, if they do have a Minwu out, there's a chance that you will not deal any damage to a forward you select. However, the second part of that effect does still remain, so if that forward you selected does still break during that turn, they will still discard a card. So, if you have the Odins, which is also in this deck, you select the forward, and then you Odin it, and then they still discard a card. So, but the main reason the Sid is in the deck is that one massive weakness of this deck is shrouded forwards. People who cannot be targeted, and not naming any names, they don't. But once they're on the field, unless you physically block them, there is very little this deck can do. And if they're playing Yuffie or Zidane, Sid Reigns is by far the best, because even if they buff them with Maria, it's still only 4000 at most, and Sid will always be able to block them, and that's the reason. Originally I had this as a 2 of in the deck and 2 Cait Siths, but that was so scary, because in one of the matches I played against in the last time in the game store that I'm at, Turn 1, Yuffie and Zidane. Turn 1. And if I hadn't played Sid, I would have lost. Because there's just simply this deck can do nothing to interact with them at all. Except for the case of Zidane, where you block with the free cost Terra, which is coming up very soon. So this card is it's somewhat situational, but against Zidane and Yuffie and things like that, it's just too good not to pass up for this kind of deck, and it really covers up a really bad weakness of this deck. A personal all-star for me in this deck is the free cost Terra. Wow, she is so good. I don't know if she's underrated. I think most people do acknowledge that she's pretty good, but in terms of ice decks, she's normally put on the bench for Legend Squall. So if you don't have the money for Legend Squall, this is a great alternative, and to be honest, I feel that she's almost as good in her own right, if not as good. It depends on the situation. So their summons cost 1 more to cast. Not bad at all. Still, it just makes it a bit more inconvenient for them. Terra cannot be targeted by summons herself, so they can't just bounce her back to your hand, so you can't kill it with Odins themselves. So it's not a bad little card to have, just to be annoying, they know it's there. It's a bit sticky, they're going to have to beat it with combat damage really, or maybe an ability, but it's not bad at all. Plus her trance ability to give 3000 power and first strike. If you've got her on the defensive, which you often will do, she's just a really big threat to any of their normal forwards unless they're buffed beyond ridiculous levels. Because that 9k first strike, even if they've invested in someone pretty high, they're gonna take a long thought before, well, oof, 9k first strike, potentially. Well, if they block, do I try and kill them beforehand? And you're gonna activate trance and pretty much wipe out one of their best forwards, and you've got a free cost. So if you don't have a Squall, it's a great alternative, and it also messes up with their summons. So any a wind water deck would be, well, they're going to have a lot of trouble because they've got Moogle, they've got Fairy, Leviathan, they're all going to be going up 1, and that doesn't sound a lot, but it really does impact them pretty badly. On to the 4-costers now, and we've got the 4-cost Terra, and she's really good in her own right on the enter of the battlefield effect, where you get to choose 2 dual forwards and deal 4000, just like Sid, but double the effect. And you can use 1 ICP to deal another 1000 to a dual forward. That's not great, but the actual S effect of, I believe, Magic Charge, I had to check that because I don't use the S ability, you can activate it on the stack of when she enters the field. So you enter the field, you target 2 of the two dual forwards with 4000, and then you activate the S ability while that's on the stack. And what happens is the magic charge gets resolved and she deals double damage to end of turn, which means them 4000 damages now do 8000. So it's a really good, potentially good way of getting out of it, but a lot of the time you will have the free cost Terror out and you'll be using it for first strike damage. On to another all-star, which I think this is incredible, and I think this and the Strongest Sword Gilgamesh, which I have 1 copy of, which I'll talk about in a second, it's really good, and it's saved my bacon so many times, and this is the start of Gilgamesh, very underrated. People, when it's played, they sometimes think, oh yeah, it's fine. It can't be returned to hand, 8000 for 4, so it's on the curve. For double lightning, you can give it an extra 1000 on the fly. You don't need to tap it for anything. So if they're trying to kill it and try and do exact amount of damage, if you're willing to discard a lightning card, or if you've got 2 lightning CP available, then you're just going to survive it. And then they're going to have to do something else, whether it's trading, whether it's doing another summon, or something else to it. And his Divider ability, if you've taken 4 damage, really helps you get back in the game if you've taken a lot of aggro damage, or if you just had a really bad opener and you're trying to find a way back. And as it's forecast, so we do have interactions with the backups of the deck. So you'll have Lulu, who will give him an extra 1000, so it's 9000. Devout, so you can bring him back, and you've got Sage to bring 1 back to your hand. So if you've already got a Divider Gilgamesh out, you can activate Sage, and you'll get 1 back into your hand, and then Divider. So it's a really good tricky card, and is one that people are pretty wary of, and that's for a good reason. One of the Strongest Sword Gilgameshes out in this deck. You can pretty much switch out the Gilgamesh numbers how you want with this. I did experiment for a long time with the free cost Gilgamesh, but I found that in this kind of control-y deck it really did not work out. I almost never used the free cost Gilgamesh, and it was just pretty much a wasted card. But the Strongest Sword, I can play him turn 1, and he's just there. He's an 8k Brave, and you can just swing for days with him. And then you've got 3 other Gilgameshes in the deck, so there's a chance that you'll be able to activate his strongest sword ability, potentially giving you 2 kills or just damaging one forward to the point where they have to trade. So it's pretty good. I prefer to use this on the early game. If you're playing late game, maybe the Divided Gilgamesh is better. I guess it's up to debate on that one. But again, it's a really good card, especially if you're opening up with him. Right, now we've got the Rare Lightning. This is 4 cost 4000 with haste. So you do get a little bit of burst damage in the deck, just only when you need it. There isn't a lot, but what there is of it can be used very effectively. When you come into the battlefield, duel something. Not bad at all. So a lot of the times I've won with the deck, I've played Lightning, maybe even a Gate Sith, duel their forwards, and then just go in for the win. Also a great interaction with this Lightning is if you have a Devout backup, you cash in the Devout, and you bring back Haze Lightning, activate her ability, duel the forward, and then you get to swing in again. And because she's already in the break zone, people don't often think about it. But if you've got Sage or Devout in the backups list, which I have 2 of each, it can give you a win out of nowhere, or at least a couple of extra points of damage where they didn't expect it, and then that really shifts the tempo. In addition, we do have 2 Legend Lightnings in this deck, which these Lightnings also help for the Army of One ability. Speaking of the Legend Lightning, the final forward in the deck are 2 of the Legend Lightning, 6 cost 9000. When she enters the battlefield, you get to search for an Odin, and that can be the 4 cost Odin, a 7 cost Odin, or any other Odins in future sets, which isn't bad. And you've got the Army of One ability as well, so you get to give something. You get to give her haste, and then you get to choose one of their forwards, and if they're able to, they have to block lightning. Which, on the surface of it, you could think, well, what if I want to get a point of damage in? Yeah, that's very true. But you don't have to choose the forward, you see. You can just give lightning haste if you really wanted to, and just not choose anyone. But if you've got a very sticky minion on their side of the field that you're really struggling, so you've got a combo deck, for example, and you don't have any Odins to hand except for the one you've just searched, you've got 1 lightning CP spare and a lightning, you can just pick apart any combo deck. You can kill the Tidus, you can kill Pains, Yunas. So there are very few things that beat lightning in a straight up fight, especially with the Army of One ability, and the threat's always there on your turn, so your opponent pretty much has to anticipate that you're going to try and kill something of theirs every turn with lightning, and then just keep swinging in. And I would want to put a 3rd one in, but I don't know. I don't know about the numbers on it yet. So you've got 2 Legend Lightning, 3 Rare Lightning. You could probably switch them around to have 3 and 2 of the other side round, but whew, I don't know if you'd want to. This deck is quite heavily costed for its forwards in general for a control deck, so maybe, I don't know, maybe I've had a lot of success with it as it is, so maybe I'd be interested in changing it up a bit, but those are the forwards. Right, now we're on to the backups, and we kick off with 3 Jill Nabar. If you're playing Ice, as many other people have said, Joseph 6 Ages Gaming, auto include, 3 of in the deck. You're playing Ice, you're playing Jill. That is just the end of it. She is just too good not to play. You get to play her in the field, you get to freeze 2 guys. If they're already dulled, then fantastic, they don't get to untap. In the EX burst, it can save you, or it can give you a win, even more importantly, so it can really shift the tempo where you're going from the defensive to the offensive, and if you've got if you've got her on the field, her S ability to dull and freeze something, well, that's just a constant threat. So you'll have 2 more in the deck. You could quite happily draw them into them, and then you can dull and freeze a person, whether it's for delay tactics, or whether it's going in for the win. Either way, Jill is a very, 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 very strong 2-cost backup, and should always be included in Ice decks at this point. Next up, we have 2 of the 2-cost Ice Time Mage. Choose 1 forward, and they can't attack this turn. It does cost an extra, 1 Ice, and you get to tap down Time Mage for it, so you use up 2 of your backups for it. But the amount of time I've been on 6 damage, and I have 1 forward out, and I've got Time Mage, and you use Time Mage every time on their turn, just before their combat step to make sure they're not summoning anything. And then you just live the turn, and there's been endless amount of times where that has worked. And if you have both Time Mages out, and you somehow have a way to keep stopping 2 forwards, it really stops their aggro plan, it really stops their best guy from hitting you. So it's just a great little card, and 2-cost CP again, so turn 1 you can play it, and the idea of the deck is you're trying to build the backups quite early on, so you really want to get 2 backups out on turn 1 if you possibly can. So you're playing the tempo game, so you're trying to keep as many cards back late game as possible while trying to survive. And this deck does not die easily. It is one of those very much, they cannot kill this thing. So I would pick 3 of these, but the problem is you do need to kill them eventually. So as good as this is, then you could always put 3 in, I suppose. It really doesn't matter which way you do it, but at the very least 2 I've always found has been very helpful. Next up is 2 of the 2-cost Red Mage for Lightning. Now this is a very simple card. You can give something of yours haste, so this really just only serves as a victory condition in itself, where you play, you can play a Legend Lightning, a Gilgamesh, Sid Reigns, Cait Sith even, I've done that before, and you just get an extra guy to attack this turn, which is something they haven't contemplated yet. So this guy can be quite surprising. I've got 2 of in the deck at the moment. I did have 3 in, and then I went down back to 2 for 2 Black Mage, which I'll speak of in a second. And I think it's down to your local competition, whether they play Minwu or not. If they're playing millions of Minwu everywhere, then have 3 of these, and only have 1 Black Mage. If you're playing against mid-range decks or control decks yourself, then 3 Red Mage is probably the better way to go. So a lot of these backups are interchangeable, just depends on your local meta, as it would. As I just said, another 2-cost backups. There's a lot of 2-cost backups in this deck on purpose, just so you get some early CP out, so you can generate every turn. Is the Black Mage, and the reason the Black Mage is for 2 hitting at practically anything. So a lot of your weaker summons, your Sid Reigns and your strongest sword Gilgamesh, if it misses and only does 3000, still has some viability. Not only that, if you've kept it open, you've got a lightning card in hand, you can uptrade pretty much with anything as long as you're willing to get rid of Black Mage. So it's just one of those little things. You don't use it all the time, but if they've got Minwu out, this card is practically useless. So it's just one of those where it depends on the situation, but a lot of the time you don't predict it to do very well, but sometimes it can help you out quite a bit. Now, one card that is the last 2-cost of this backup set is 1 Cosmos. Now this can be interchanged for Chaos, it doesn't matter which one you use. And I know your Joe's Fire and stuff don't rate them as much as they used to, and I would agree partly with it. The reason I have one of these in this deck is for the mana fixing, and I don't mean that to play cards, I mean that to activate certain abilities. So there are plenty of abilities in this deck that people struggle to activate normally, and so you've got things like Terra's Trance ability that costs 2 ice, you've got Gilgamesh with Divider, 2 lightning, Black Mage, 2 lightning again. So you've got a lot of these double costed activations, and if you don't have a card to discard of that colour just to hand, then you can be a bit screwed. But Cosmos for me has saved me a lot of worry, a lot of aggro in my own mind when I'm trying to think about what to play next, because you have either an extra ice CP or an extra lightning CP, and it has come in very handy. So arguably you can take this out, maybe for a Time Mage or a Red Mage, or maybe you want to put more backups in general, but I find that with all the double ability costs in this deck, that Cosmos is a very good one-off just to have in. 1 Mog, and a lot of people will go, what are you doing, you madman, you can have more than 1 Mog. I know, you can have more than 1 Mog. I mean, I used to have it used to be a free of in the deck, way back when, but except for searching, it doesn't do a lot, and you have a lot more 2-cost CP things that eventually do you better things. This for me personally, I feel of it as you're searching either for an answer, so you usually pick up a Legendary Lightning, or you're picking up a Divider Gilgamesh if you're behind, or if you're about to win, maybe the Haste Lightning. So it can be quite useful, but the problem is once it's out, it doesn't do much, whereas a lot of the other backups in this deck do a lot, and that is what the backups are what keep you alive almost as much as the forwards, and so you have to keep managed of them. You have to manage them very well. So it's only 1 of in this deck. You can always put more if you prefer more, but just having the 1 Mog for me, it seems to work for me. You could probably get away with 2. Next up, we've got Duke Larg. Give all your ice forwards 1000. Not much to say about this one. Just boosts up your Sid to make their UVs, their design as what it's intended to keep them at bay. Terra, just to make it a little bit more awkward for them to kill, so they'd have to, I don't know, use an ability that costs them 7. Well, it does 7,000 damage, and if you happen to use Terra's Trance ability, she now becomes 10,000 with First Strike. and it's very good. So there isn't really much more to say about that. It's just very simple. And again, with this lightning, the lightning version Lulu, give all your lightning forwards 1,000, boost your Gilgameshes, boost your lightnings, and it's very, very good. And having both of these out effectively gives you a Maria, which doesn't sound great, but sometimes it really does push you over the edge, especially in some sort of control matchup where you just have that little bit of an edge. Next up we have 2 sages. Now these lightning sages are excellent in my opinion. You can bring back, well, any character, so you don't even have to bring back a forward if you don't want to. You can always bring a backup. So if you've got a Jill Nabart out and you want to really desperately tap down something or freeze it, you can always retrieve a Jill and then freeze something. But more likely you're going to bring back a card that will activate an S ability that's on your field. So if you've got a Divider Gilgamesh out, Strongest Sword Gilgamesh, Terror, or Lightning, you're most likely going to retrieve one of those from your break zone. So that's pretty much what it is. And it's just a good little insurance policy there. Alright, next is the 4-cost Ice Devout, and again, it does similar things to Sage, but you do have to break it. Now, a lot of people don't like break cards, but in a very controlling deck like this, you're going to go through a lot of your deck before you ever win, unless somehow they draw terribly. So you're going to go through a lot of your deck anyway, and sometimes, if you're not desperately behind, you just need to get that little bit of more advantage, or you need to make room for more backups. So if you've got a Mog in hand you desperately want to search, you can always cash in your Devout, bring back a Gilgamesh, you can always bring back a Haste Lightning to tap their guy down, Terrors, so you can shoot 2 of their guys for 4k, anything like that, and then you've got a backup slot free. So and it can save you. You can only activate on your turn, but I've very early on, especially in this deck, I was cashing in my Devout to bring back the Gilgamesh and then start dividing everyone. It pretty much saved me more than enough times to warrant at least 2 of in the deck. Now, one card that I was struggling to put in and I struggled to keep in, and I was there going, do I? Was the 5-cost Lulu. Now, the 5-cost Lulu here, you get to tap her, choose a backup, put it in the break zone, deal 5k to something. That to a lot of people for a 5-cost backup is horrendous, and I would quite happily agree with them on most levels about that. But the Lulu, as long as you don't receive her very early game, I tend to play her, and it tends to give me very good results. It's often it runs away with the game sometimes if you're willing to sacrifice a backup or 2. So if you've got something that doesn't do anything anymore, say you played Black Mage but they're playing Minmo, it's just silly things like that, where interactions where you can always take out this Lulu. It's not a staple as such for me, but there has been often a lot of times where I've been able to live the dream and actually Fundaga someone with only one other Lulu in the deck, and it's just a good little insurance policy again, where you just get to continuously 5k someone each turn. So again, it's very, I don't know, I wouldn't say controversial, I would just say questionable. So a lot of people would discount this and just go, no way, never in a million years. But it's such a controlling game, very controlling deck. I have been able to get away with it multiple times, and sometimes it has been the only reason I've won a game, as strange as it is. And other times, you've got it in the opening hand and you're stuck with it, and you just discard it for another backup. It's not a big problem. It's not that you have to play it. You can always discard it to play a 2-cost backup. Right guys, on to the summons now. There's 11 summons, and we're kicking off with a 1-cost Shiva. Now, you could quite easily replace this with Ramuh if you really wanted to, but to me, the interaction with Shiva and Snow is the reason why there's 2 of them in the deck, in addition to the 3-cost Shiva, which is also in the deck. Simple, cheap, 5k, early game, they're most likely going to play a weak minion. They might get a point of damage in, or if you happen to have the CP available, during their attack, you can activate Shiva before they deal damage and kill their forward, because they have to. The vast majority of cards will have to be dulled to attack. So that's a little interaction there that a lot of people don't think about, but it can save you a point of damage. And you can also combo this out, which I have done a lot of times with Sid Reigns. So you've got 3 CP available, maybe on 2 and 2. You play Sid Reigns 4,000, then you 1-cost Shiva for another 5,000. You kill, if it's quite a big guy, really, you can kill quite a big guy as long as they don't have Minmo out, and then they discard a card. So they've lost a forward, they've lost a card in their hand, which they've probably not got many of left if they played something really expensive and overextended on the first turn. So a 2 of in the deck is not worth 3 of, definitely not worth 3 of, even with the Hero Snow interaction where if you played Shiva then you get to dual and free something with Snow. But a 2 of, maybe a 1 of or a 2 of is pretty much the sweet spot. Now an all-star summon in Ice for sure, if it's just the best Ice summon, just no questions asked. I don't think anyone will disagree with me on this one, is the 3-cost Shiva. Very simple. EX burst as well, just for added flavour. You get to dual and free something and you just get to dual and free something. And it's just insane. I mean, you can, with the 1-cost Shiva you get an EX burst as well. Very good, but you don't really care about that Shiva too much. It's more just for the Snow. And maybe you maybe get a kill out of it if you're very lucky with the 3-cost. Dual and free something all the time, always useful, no matter what situation you're in, always very useful. Also very handy for stopping someone from using their activated abilities that require dulling. So, let's say for example they've got the Legend Light Cloud out, they've played it, and you have no way of killing it for whatever reason, and you've got no way of beating it in battle. One way to delay it is to Shiva it. It's dulled and frozen, and now they can't activate the activated ability next turn, nor use it to attack, so it can be a fantastic delay tactic. Or if you're about to win, then they've got just a couple of blockers, you can dual and freeze their best blocker and just go in for the win. So just overall a very, very good summon. Now we're on to the 4-cost Odin. This 4-cost Odin is insane. It has killed so many things. It has destroyed so much. It just deals with endless amounts of people. Endless amounts of forwards. It's almost amazing. It doesn't kill everything because it only goes up to 4 cost. But when I play Legendary Lightning and I get to search for an Odin, 9 times out of 10 I'm going to be searching for the 4 cost. And the reason I search for the 4 cost is it's not an EX burst like its 7 cost cousin, so you're still keeping the EX count in your deck, and you might get one off the top if you're lucky. But often if you search for a 4 cost Odin, it's pretty much always going to be used for something. So it's very, very rarely a wasted card. And the final one of the deck is 3 of the 7-cost Odin as well. Now, when I first saw this Odin, I thought it's very expensive. It's fair enough it's EX burst, you might get it off the top, but I'm never going to play it. In a very controlled deck like this, you can get away with actually paying the full 7 cost to kill any forward, and it really does do the job well. Now, if they have a lot of small guys, it's not going to be as useful to you, but again, it can just be really good just to have in the deck, because you will always almost get an EX at some point during the game, and it might as well be a 7-cost Odin, because why not, in for a penny, in for a pound. But if they've played something incredible like a 6-cost Legend, and you have no way of dealing with it, but you've got a Legend Lightning, join the Legend Lightning, you've got a 9k blocker for now, and you get to search out a 7-cost Odin to deal with it the following turn. And they know that you searched for the Odin, so now they always have to play around that. So you can get it as an EX burst, which is always the preferred method, but if you do have to pay for something, such a controller deck like this, you've probably got 3, 4, 5 backups, and then the cost isn't so bad to play. So there you have it guys, a very controlly Ice Lightning deck that I personally have been using for the last couple of weeks. I'm not saying it's the best, it's pretty terrible, probably, but out of 9 or 10 games that I've competitively done it at the local game store, it has won 90% of its games, so I can't really complain about it, and it really plays to my playstyle. Will it work as well for you? I don't know. Try it for yourself and just see if you enjoy it. Obviously make changes, there's plenty of room to throw in whatever you want in there, but for me personally it's a deck I really enjoy, and I've got 4 decks in total, and this is the one I use the most, and I just enjoy it. There's just no two ways about it. I love playing the deck, so I will play it, and I'll keep playing it for a while. So hopefully you've enjoyed this deck list guys, my first ever deck list. If you really like the deck, leave a comment below. If you really think, oh my god, that is the worst thing ever, leave a thumbs down. But if you think, oh well, it's pretty good but I can improve on it, then please just tell me what your improvements are. Please tell me what you think of the deck, what changes you think you will make if you want to try and play this deck, and what's your experience of it yourself if you actually if you played something very similar or tried to play this exact deck list. So thank you all very much for watching this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.